Hey guys, tonight we're going to be talking ghosts, poltergeists, and shadow people, and other things. Straight from the files of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team. Hope to see you there. Be right back. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good afternoon, everybody, or more like evening. Welcome. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. We're 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you have a haunted, if you think you might have a ghost or something going on in business, we can help you out. We can help you out. It may take us a couple of days to get to you, even though we have people up and down the state, because California is this huge state. We have the whole California growth going on, like Hawaii, with the surfers and bikinis and all that good stuff. But that's just part of California. And then as you start going either up north or down south, and then as you expand further inland, you're hitting deserts and foothills and the Sierra Nevada mountains and whatever else mountains are out there down in the Los Angeles area. So there's a lot of big widespread areas, and that's why it may take us a little bit of time to get to you. You see, I just blinked. My internet, it's been really active in the news. Things have been really active in the news, so my internet is doing its usual. I'm going to mess you up during your show dance. Can't help it. Just bear with me. I end up disappearing where all the Marios go. Okay, now that I got my spiel out, if we can't get out to you within right away to investigate, we do have psychics on staff who can phone you and talk to you about what may or may not be going on, and in most cases they can settle the energy down until we can get out there, to take a look and see what's going on. Okay, that being said, welcome, and if you're watching from Facebook tonight, I have allergies, and a lot of you are, please feel free to hit that follow button if you haven't done so already, especially if you like what you hear and see tonight. I really appreciate that, and also, leave me a thumbs up, a happy face, or those heart thingies, up there to show that you love us, that you like the show. Not love us, it sounds weird. All right. Also, please you're more than happy to have you active in the chat room today. I will be answering questions, so I'm leaving it open to questions. I think people look like they're starting to have a little bit of trouble getting in here because I see one person coming in and then fading out, coming in, fading out. It's going to be one of those nights. So yeah, feel free to ask questions. With all the experience I have as an investigator, I can answer your questions, and it's greatly appreciated. Same thing with YouTube. I've gotten over 950 videos sitting over there, all this show, all different topics. My real day job, when I have a day job, is I'm a journalist, photojournalist, editor, newspaper editor. And so I like to change it up. I don't always like to cover paranormal topics because I'm here to help. I'm here to educate even about the paranormal, but I'm also here to educate about other things as well. And we're going to talk a little bit tonight. So, so you can check out our YouTube. I call it eclectic because there's all kinds of different topics. And because there's so many videos, I'm never going to be done doing this, but I've been filing everything into single files. So if you like cryptids, you can go to the cryptid file. Nancy Match, you can go to her file, etc., etc., etc. So it makes things a lot easier to find. Same rules apply. Please, feel free to give me a thumbs up, a happy face. I almost look dirty, didn't it? That's my thumb. Okay, a thumbs up, a happy face. Heart, whatever you can give me, comment over there, throw comments up on these videos. I appreciate it. Twitch, same thing. TikTok, same thing. They all work about this. TikTok, double tap the screen. But it's going to be an interesting night tonight. I wanted to talk about some cases that we've had, kind of like following up the Monday conversation about poltergeists and stuff I was talking about last night as well with the guest. So I want to talk about that, and then I want to also talk about Sunday or Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. No, it's 2 p.m. Pacific. I'm teaching Ghost Hunting 101. And even if you're not gonna, you don't want to join my team, even if you're just like a casual person that goes out and wants to do some ghost hunting on their own, this is the class teach you the skills to do that, teach you the skills to do the EVPs properly and stuff, so you don't get confused with somebody else's voice and things like that. So if that's something you're interested in, head on over to the California Haunts meetup site. It's California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team meetup, and sign up over there. The same thing goes for Sunday. Sunday I have kind of like a meditation day planned, and I want to take people in to meditation to meet their spirit guides and their spirit object and their spirit animal and their spirit message. So that's something I'm going to be doing Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific. So if that sounds like something you want to do, again, check out the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team meetup site. Okay. You see that ticker I'm running at the bottom. I don't like to do this all the time, but I'm going to put it out there. We do have bills to pay like everybody else with this show, and I'm just trying to keep things going. And I'm $100 short this month. So if you guys could find it in your heart, even $20 or whatever to help me out, that would be great. I need to get the 30th is pretty much my deadline, so that would be very helpful if you could help me out. It's not required. I'm just asking. A lot of these shows, they do have Patreons, and I want to get my Patreon activated so I can draw more people out to the Patreon site to get the memberships going over there. I have like 3 people as memberships over my Patreon. It'd be nice to have more people, and we're gonna, and I have a bunch of stuff that we're offering over there in packages for incentives. So if you guys, feel the need, type in California. I'll put a link down here. Type it after the show so you guys can go back and check it out. It'll show up on YouTube so you guys can see it. Okay, let's get to business tonight. Let me have a sip of water and let's talk. We're going to talk ghosts in a few minutes, but there's a couple things I want to talk about and things I've been seeing. Hang on. Yum. Nice water. One thing, as a photojournalist, AI. I want to tackle AI because I've gotten mixed comments from people when I've commented about, directly commented about AI. And one of the comments that I had, and this happened a couple weeks ago, and I had somebody come jump me over it, was that I'm not going to say who it was. It was the picture of a celebrity, long dead, and his wife. And with me, because I'm a photojournalist, I know what to look for with AI photos and AI video. And I pointed out that this was an AI generated photo. And I even had the proof. And this other person came on, jumped me, and said, well, poor little journalists, don't get all panicky over AI, blah, 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 blah. Well, here's what the deal is. As a photojournalist, if we make any changes to photos that we're going to put in the newspaper out for publication, and we make any changes, let's say you take a picture of somebody and it looks like there's a tree coming out the top of their head, right? Not very cool. Or maybe there's a seagull flying behind them or something, right? If we remove that seagull or we remove that tree trunk from behind you, or make your teeth, just something different in the photo that there's something there that's sticking out. There's a branch or something that's sticking out, and I removed that, and then I turned it in for publication. We are required to put a note under there and call it a photo illustration. That is when you have photos, and you either add or subtract from the photos in some way with Photoshop, right? Photo illustration. And the comment that I had to this person who made the comment to me over that AI was journalists are required to say it's a photo illustration. It's got to come to a head somehow with AI where there has to be some kind of notation on there to say that it is an illustration. Because a lot of people are falling for these photos. And I see it all the time on Facebook. And even if you point out that it's an AI photo, they still believe that it's an actual photo. So something has to give with these AI photos, right? And so today, as I was posting to put the teaser out about this show on Instagram, it's the first time I've seen this pop up because of my photo, right, that I was putting in there. A little note came up saying, hey, how about if it's an AI photo, mark it as an AI photo. First time I've seen that. So Instagram cracked down, but it's a voluntary thing because they must be getting emails and comments from people about the amounts of AI seeing or AI videos too that they're seeing on the web, right? I mean, if you see TikTok on it, that's obviously a filter because TikTok has filters that do things like if I'm sitting here and I decide that I want to do something funny for a photo and I can fix it so it looks like my house is flooded and I've got water up to my neck, right? When I'm sitting here. That's a filter from TikTok. So, I mean, people are aware of that, but people aren't aware of a lot of these AI photos because they're really cleverly done. And you have to look at them very, very closely in order to tell whether or not it's AI. Like me, I was able to compare that one photo with the original photo to say that, hey, this person was inserted in there and this is AI. So something's got to be done. And I believe it's Scarlett Johansson right now has a lawsuit going on against a company who is utilizing a voice for their ads and their videos that sounds just like her. And they claim that this was done before because then they asked her to become a spokesperson, for these overdubs. And they're claiming this happened before they met with her, and they claim it's not her voice yet. It sounds just like her. So there's a lawsuit there. So that's probably one of the first lawsuits I've seen, involving AI. And I have nothing against AI. I think it's a great tool. I think AI is a wonderful tool. You can make beautiful things with it. You can photos. Oh my God, you can do anything with AI. Anything you want, but the problem is you have to tell people it's AI. I mean, when you're watching videos on YouTube and the narration, you could tell when it's AI because they don't pronounce the words correctly. The words are pronounced weird, which I laugh when I see those videos. But it does have to be done to regulate the AI thing, just like it's done with newspapers and photojournalists and even news shows. Regular news shows and stuff. They will say that it's an illustration. So something has to be done about that. Okay, but I just wanted to bring out the fact that I saw, Facebook. Well, technically Facebook because it's Instagram, but I did see Instagram, put a note on there to voluntarily say, hey, this is an AI illustration. So it's starting to turn now, and I hope it does because, I mean, people read what they want to read, and this was a full example of what went on during the election cycles. Right? People are going to read and believe whatever they believe. Just like I came across an article about Fox News today where everybody was commenting how wonderful because Fox News, this is happening with them, this is happening. And I thought, I've heard this before somewhere. So I went ahead and Googled, and I put 2024 behind it, nothing came up. But what I was able to really Google was there was a tweet on there from somebody commenting about Fox News. So I clicked on the tweet 2022. Yet there's no date on the news story to tell anybody that it's an old news story. I mean, that's the stuff that's roaming around. Watch out for. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a show on that or doing a training session with people to teach them how to sort through the news, to find out what's real and what's not. So I'm thinking about that. I'm seriously thinking about doing something with that because this is 2022 and this stuff's already happened. Yet they're running it now to say, oh, so people think it's happening right now. Okay, I'm off my high horse on that one. Let's talk about the paranormal. We've done, I think, around more than 100 cases, maybe 150 cases, combined of residentials and businesses and fun places like the Woodland Opera House, places like that. And there's so much to pull from. I have files. I keep files on each and every client, and so I have like 4 filing cabinets full of stuff, like stuff you don't see behind the black curtain back here. The stuff you don't see. And there's just so many cases there. Just like Monday's guest, Randy, when we were talking about poltergeists, and my throat's crushy. We were talking poltergeists, and I've had several cases with poltergeists. Nothing really overly bad, but I mean enough for the families to not want to be in their homes, to where it's unnerving for them as far as cases go. And one of the ones I talked about Monday night in particular was the gentleman that was really, really upset all the time, really angry. And, it turned out that he had a tumor in a place that would cause hallucinations, because he was the one seeing the ghosts in the house and stuff. So, he was the one causing the poltergeist activity. There was an actual ghost in that house. It was the ghost of a older teenager, and he was protecting the man's son who was ill and bedridden. He was protecting the man's son from the man because the man was so irate, and there was a lot of background even on this probably 18-year-old ghost when he passed. But the main thing on that one was that with that house, this guy was always upset. So the energy was just nuts. Things were falling off the walls. There were knockings. There were lights flashing on and off in the house all the time, and things like that going on. And it took a while. It took me a good month and a half to figure out what exactly was going on in this place, because there was just so much activity swirling around. You're trying to sort it out. I got the story of the wife. I got the story of the husband. You couldn't talk to the son because he was nonverbal. And so it was a lot of sorting through stuff and figuring stuff out. But as it ended, as we ended, in fact, I had been told by the wife in the initial preliminary part of the investigation that her husband had a brain tumor a couple years ago, and that's what got me to thinking. Once we did the investigation and started putting things together, that's what got me to thinking that there might be something medically involved with this gentleman. And sure enough, I didn't suggest it to him because I knew he would be irate about it, so I suggested it to his wife. And sure enough, within a week or so, week and a half, I get a phone call from her saying, "Oh, he got a brain scan and he's got a tumor again, but it was in a spot on the brain that would cause this kind of emotional stuff." So we were able to get that taken care of. And then the other ghost that was in the house that had been drawn in that house was attached to the what they call attached to the property because he had lived there many, many years ago. And there was a story involving him. And someday I'll get that recording out for you guys to play it that we did. We did not get any video on it, but we did get a audio recording of lead psychic Trish Flores. Now her last name is throwing me, so sorry. I'm having one of those days. Lead psychic Trish, as she channeled this guy and was able to get him to move on, to cross over. There was a more involved story with this guy. Sometimes when you do these cases, it's funny because you get so much information, from even the ghost. If you get a rapport going with the ghost you're investigating and they're responsive to you, you can get a lot of information from them about them, and then you can go cross-reference it too, and that's what we did in this case, and found out that it was a true story that this 17-year-old ghost had told us, and it was involved. At first, it's unbelievable, but you go do that research, and as it turned out in this case, there was a house on this property before, and this young man was into drugs, and he got into it with his father, and essentially decided to burn the house down when the father was at work. And then what he didn't realize until the house was almost fully engulfed was that his mother was in the house at the time that he tried to burn it down. So he tried to run into the house to rescue her, and he died from the fire, and so did she. And so the whole issue with that was that he didn't want to cross over because he was afraid that he would end up in a different place and that his mother was still angry at him. So that's how we worked the session with Trish, was that Trish was able to bring the mother out to come get him. And so we were able to cross him over and put him to peace. So it was involved, and he even admitted he was in the house because he was afraid the father was going to hurt the son. And I'm not saying young son. The son was I think, in his 30s at the time. And he was afraid the father was going to physically hurt the son because of the way the father's mind was working. So it all worked out. I know this stuff, and even to me, this stuff seems incredible. But when we're able to go to county records and do cross-verification on what we're told by by the ghost. I mean, that says something, and we were able to get that verification on that case. Plus, the brain tumor thing, and from what I understand, since he's had to have that tumor removed, there hasn't been a problem at all within their family. But what was interesting with that one is going into the prelim, they thought, because they're very religious, very Catholic, and they thought it was a demon that was in the house. But as I did the initial walk around to check everything out, because I will go through room by room and write everything down, what's on the walls, what type of lighting they have, what type of carpeting they have, if there is carpeting or flooring or whatever, and take photos of the whole thing, to have an idea of what is in the house, or are the walls thin, blah blah blah. As I did that, I noticed there were religious icons on the walls. A bunch of, for you guys that don't know what that is, a bunch of photos of saints, things like that on the walls, and they were all. I asked I asked the wife if they were blessed, and she said yeah. So that's when I turned around and I just went, well, if this was a demon, these things wouldn't be on the walls. So we're not dealing with a demon here. This is something else altogether. So then, that all unfolded into more and more and more with this case, until finally I was able to figure things out. Like I said, after about a month or a month and a half after going and doing the investigation, I was able to sort it all out. And find out where the poltergeist activity was coming from, and then this other ghost that was in it. There were actually things going. It just wasn't one source that was causing the issues in the house. So you run into that all the time. Last night I kind of I don't remember if I talked about. Yeah, I think I did, about the couple that would get into fights, and they would go to bed at night, and because they hadn't resolved, their battle before they went to bed, there's pounding in the walls. She would hear it every night. We did the check for mice and everything, because it's either pipes will do that, will cause pounding in walls, and rats. Rats and mice will cause pounding in the walls as they run through the walls sometimes. So we went ahead and did a check up in the attic. We were looking down into the walls and stuff, and there's a way, because rats and mice leave a urine trail, and the urine trail can be seen with fluorescent light. So you go into something like that, or even a garage that might have an infestation, you can see where the trails are. And that's what we did. So there were no trails in this house at all from anything like that. So we knew that wasn't the culprit. So then we get back down and we're talking with them, and then when she, when she said, yeah, we've been fighting a lot, and this usually happens after we go to bed, it made perfect sense as what was going on in the house. So they were able to, through counseling, get through all that, and all the activity stopped. So it's stuff like that to look out for, as a paranormal team. Children, little kids. We've had cases where we've gone out, and I'm talking kids, 5 and younger. Because, like we always say on this show, everybody's born with psychic abilities. It's just as we get older, we tend to repress them going on in our lives, like work and things like that. And we tend to, I guess there's the word repress or suppress them, suppress. And so, sometimes once you get past a certain age, you start having these abilities come back, which is what happened to me. I went through a lull, and then when I hit like my early 20s is where I started noticing stuff again. But up until probably the age of 13, I saw things in my house. And then it stopped that quickly because I got busy with school. And then I got busy going, working and all that, so I didn't have time to think about that stuff. But then once I got to a certain age, especially when I had my travel show, I had a travel TV show that we did called California Adventures. Before Disney had taken the rights to that, it was California Adventures, and I was doing and it was on public access. And so we were going to different places, and I thought it would be fun to go out with the paranormal team. So that's when it all started. That's when I started to get back into paranormal, and stuff. And then my abilities started to come out. Weird things in my car. I'd be going to meetings with this team and having to sit down and be driving home, and a flashlight would suddenly turn on by itself way in the back of my hatch, that SUV. And then I'd have to pull over, turn the flashlight off, go another 30, 40 feet, the light would come on again. And it wasn't the motion of the car. Flashlights, I had them in, I had them really secure, so it wouldn't have been the motion of the car. So that's when, like I said, that's when, like, you go through your life after you've had experiences as a kid, nothing's happening, and then suddenly you're awakened somehow. It comes out, less stress or whatever you want. So that happens, you know. But I've been to houses and done cases where, let me just push this over here, moving things around. I've done cases where little children are involved. I mean, it could be kids that are 2, 3 years old. They have that ability, and like when the child talks to an imaginary friend, is it an imaginary friend or is it a ghost? A good topic for dancing on Friday. I remember that. Is it an imaginary friend? But kids do have that, and I have done cases where the parents have reported cabinets opening and closing on their own at night. Or a child's toy comes to life after it's been turned off, or if it has no batteries in it. Things like that going on. And of course, the kid might have nightmares because they're seeing dead relatives, in their dreams, things like that. And I've had several cases like that involving young children. And it's usually them. And then you get the kids going through puberty. And like I pointed out on Monday night, that happens more often than not because they're going through a lot of life changes. A lot of things going on. Their hormones, everything's changing, and you get that. That's the first question I ask when I go out and I see a preteen child in the house. How old is he or she? Because poltergeist activity going on in the house. Because a lot of times it starts, and kids like that, they don't know how to control it, so they're usually the instigator for it. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it happens, and that's and then we get the call to go out and check the house out and stuff, and then it gets taken care of. I mean, you got to work with them. Sometimes one of the parents is also psychic, so that gives the opportunity for the parent to train to learn how to deal with it as well. And so it's less disturbing for the child to go through it, because it can be scary. I mean, when stuff like that, starts happening, it can be really scary, and it's nice to have some kind of guidance, right? I know with me, even as a kid, it was scary, and then my family would laugh because, you've got this huge imagination, and it really wasn't my imagination, right? And later on, same thing. And so I would come home, and it was the time when Montel used to have Sylvia Browne on. So I would come home and watch Sylvia Browne, and it made me feel better, to hear how she was doing the readings and stuff, and what her theories were. So I started to buy her books and do that research like that. But we've had a lot of cases of kids and teenagers that have caused activity in homes because they don't understand what's going on. And then once you sit down with them and go over it all and explain, it's like a non-issue, and then they're able to control it better. And some people embrace it. And they think it's, you'll get this. It doesn't bother me anymore, but I still know it's there. Things like that. But once people have a better understanding of that activity and that they may be the cause of it, it's all good. Unless it's negative, unless they're drawing in something negative, like we did one out in Roseville out here where the child thought was watching Ghost Hunters and all those programs, and she thought, it was a teenager, and she thought it would be funny to call something in. It turns out there was something attached to the property, and she called in, and it wasn't very happy. We had to sort through that. So that does happen too from time to time. With these cases, you run into all kinds of stuff like that. There's a couple houses out there where we've run into, and the mother and father and the child is psychic, and they've had no formal training, and that gets interesting because everybody's seeing stuff. Everybody's seeing these. It's like you're a beacon when you have psychic abilities. It's like you're a beacon or a lighthouse out in the ocean, and they see that. Carol Ann, right? Carol Ann from Poltergeist. She was a beacon because she had abilities, obviously. And so when they see that, they want to come and see who it is and what's going on. Especially if you're stuck in that void. That's what you want to do is see what that light is that's going on, right? You don't want to be in the dark. And that's why kids tend to attract a lot more than most adults do. But that's what a psychic is like there. If you want to imagine, somebody being psychic, that's the way to do it, is think of them as a beacon or a lighthouse in the middle of the black vastness of wherever people are after they pass away. Wow, can you guys hear that? Somebody in the neighborhood must have some electronic things going on for that to trigger like that. Because it never used to do that, but it does now. It's that clicking thing that sounds like, Morse code. Anyway, so we've had a lot of cases like that with children that have psychic abilities and have, you have to teach the parent, teach the mother or father how to relate to them. Because maybe they don't have abilities, but the child might, or vice versa. You know, the mother may have, it can go both ways, or, both the mother and the child, or the father and the child have abilities. So you have to work with them on that, and how to work with their abilities to make things better, and maybe everybody feel better, with that kind of thing. That's several cases over the years dealing with stuff like that. And it's interesting, as a paranormal investigator, there's a huge responsibility when you go out because, you run into these cases and you have to kind of be a counselor, even though you're not licensed to be a counselor. You have to kind of really look at people with sympathetic ears and be a counselor, because there might be something going on in their lives that are triggering what's going, the activity that they're seeing. Or you have to be a scientist. Really, there might be something electrical going on, like a high EMF, for instance. Extremely high EMF can cause paranoia. It can cause all kinds of things. To keep an eye out for stuff like that. I've taken apart doorknobs. When people have had doors that have opened and closed by themselves, I've literally taken apart doorknobs to see if maybe something's up with the door and the latch isn't grabbing right or whatever. So all it takes is somebody walking by a door to open the door, or a breeze from an open window to open that door. I've literally taken stuff apart. One case we did, again, up in, just up near, well, not up near Auburn, but in between here and Auburn, where there was a chest of drawers that would open by itself when the client walked past it. And I got in there and noticed that when you walked in front of it, again, like you walk past it, the drawer would open. So I went ahead and got a level. And it turns out that the room was at a slight angle. And this was a fairly new drawer, so it had all that mechanism in there, with the little round ball, the little round things where you could slide, open and close the thing really easily. And so sure enough, you step in front of that drawer, boom, it opened. So that was a debunk as far as that went. Stuff like that. So you have to go out there and not only look at the paranormal side, because there's a lot of teams that'll go out and just look at the paranormal side and that's it. Oh yeah, it's paranormal, let's go look. You have to go out there with a different attitude with that, and go out. Even though my team, I would say we're 80% believers, and then you got that 20% that are the science types. And those are the ones that go out and I hate the word debunk, but those are the ones that go out and look at all the practical stuff. Because that's part of what we do with our preliminary questionnaire. We go through, it's a 100-question questionnaire. We go through and ask them everything, about what's been going on. Did they have stuff going on in the previous residence they were at? And that, when did this start, this residence? And then you go through and do a walkthrough on the house, and you're looking at different things. Like that, and where's the EMF levels during the day when you're there? So you can get nominal EMF levels and stuff. We're looking at all that. We're looking at windows. Do the windows have shades on them? Are there trees near the windows, because they might be seeing moving shadows or something? It could be the trees. One house we did, this lady was hearing voices, and it turns out in her bedroom she had a mail drop. And the side, there was a mail drop. So you could hear voices, obviously outside and across the street, that were walking by because of this mail drop. Another lady we did, she would lay in bed or during the day to take naps, and she would hear voices in her house. And what was it? She had really thin walls, and there was a big window in her bed, and in her bedroom, bedroom in a walking trail. And between the house and the fence line, there was only about 20, 30 feet. So when people would walk on that trail, she could hear them talking back and forth to each other, which she thought was paranormal. And the other thing that happened with her, which was interesting, was she would complain that, and this is the boring side of investigating, okay? She would complain that something, because she had a CPAP machine at night, and so she would complain that something was on her chest holding her back from breathing every night. She thought it was something dark that was there. Turns out we did a watch, and I was sitting at a table in the dining room, with a camera on her, and one of my investigators volunteered to go in there and to sit there all night and watch her sleep. And what was interesting about that was that around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, her big black cat jumped up on the bed, got up on her chest, and swatted the PPAP. Good Lord. And swatted at the cables coming, the airlines coming from her CPAP machine. And sure enough, the CPAP would unplug, from the mask. So it wasn't something paranormal. It was her cat that was coming on, sitting on her chest and doing this, and that's why she was having trouble breathing at night, and she thought it was paranormal. She thought the ghost was taking the CPAP thing off of her, So that's the stuff you got to do, but, we had to sit there for, at least 8 hours watching this lady sleep in order to find this out. That's what you don't see on TV, is stuff like that. Fortunately, I had another investigator that lived in that same town, and he brought us pizza, for our night vigil. But that's the stuff. I mean, it's just that's the stuff that you don't see on TV. But that was a great case. That was an interesting case, and we were able to debunk that. Now, did she have other ghosts going on? Yeah, she did have something else going on, and it was attached to. She loved to antique, and so she had stuff going on that was attached to a what do they call those? A closet, an old stand-up closet. There's another name for those things. I forget what they're called. But yeah, she had stuff attached to that. She ended up getting rid of that thing. But that's the stuff that you got to do and sort through. But it wasn't all paranormal what she was going through at all. Shadow people. Shadow people are creepy. Even I'm going to say they're creepy, even for me. I had this discussion today. I did a guest spot in a co-host thing with Dr. Linda Salvin today. And I'm going to be, in fact, as a quick plug, I'll look for the first week in June. I'm going to be filling in for her on her own show. I'm going to be hosting her show because she's going to be in New York for a few days. So she's asked me to be an interim host, which is kind of fun. I'm really honored to do that. But we were talking about shadow people today and coincidences and things like that. And I've run into probably 3 or 4 shadow people over the years. And, one in particular had a hat. Because they always talk about the Hatman. And the closest I've ever come to seeing one was only and I talked about this, I think, on Monday a little bit. I think. I'm not positive. I think I did. Or it was just today and I'm getting my days messed up. But the closest I've ever come to a shadow person was 10 feet. And it was weird. In fact, it was interesting because not only did I see it, but 10 other people from my investigation team were there seeing it as well. It was at the Fallon Hotel in Columbia. And we had been investigating all night long. And we decided to wrap up in the parlor. So we all were sitting around the parlor, and I decided to do an EVP session with dowsing rods sitting in the parlor. And the hallway in the hotel was right off to my right, going back. And one of the investigators, about 5 minutes into this thing, one of my investigators said, "Hey, Charlotte, there's somebody down the hallway behind you." And I turned around, and there was a door. There was a front door to this place that had yellow colored stained glass. So it was like we did have light coming in. Dim light, but light. And it was so like bright, where in the parlor. But as it went back, it got dim. So when I turned around to look to see who or what was behind me, I couldn't see anything, and I just kind of blew it off and went, "Well, I guess they disappeared." And you know, so I continued with my session. And as I was doing the session, I looked off to my right, and there was this shadow man that walked in and stopped and was staring at us. And he was 6 feet tall. There was no hat on this guy, no hat at all. Like they talk about hats, didn't have a hat on. And he was just standing there watching us. And I looked at everybody else, and they're all looking at the same thing, right? Because he's just, I mean, like I said, 10 feet. I could have reached out and touched the guy if I wanted to. Or, he would have reached out. I could have touched his shadow hand. And I remember my team starting to yell because some people became alarmed by it. It didn't bother me. I didn't feel that it was aggressive. It was just observing, at least at that point. But a couple people got alarmed, and the next thing I hear is, in the name of Jesus Christ, get out, get out. And they all started demanding him out. Well, he did. He turned to the right, and he went right through the front door, walked right through the front door. And I remember seeing that. So I started my session up again. And about 3 or 4 minutes later, he came back, and he came right through the door, coming back towards us, stopped again to watch us. At that point, I just said, "Okay, I think we're done. Let's wrap it up." This is like 2:30, 3:30 in the morning. Let's wrap this up. Wrapped up, packed everything up, came home. And at that time, my father was ill. As I was taking care of both my mom and dad. And I came home, and I was sleeping on the couch in my clothes. I used to do that because you never knew when something was going to happen, and I'd have to, jump in the car and go to Kaiser, follow my dad or whatever, to get him to Kaiser. And as I was sleeping, I could feel something on top of me really heavy. And I remember waking up, and nothing was there, so then I fell back asleep. Felt the same thing. So, half asleep, I reached up, and I could feel 2 shoulders, like someone was lying on top of me, and I pushed it off. And I demanded that it leave. And I still don't know, did he follow me, the shadow guy follow me home, or was this something else that followed me home from this case? But he did leave, whoever this was left. But it definitely was interesting. It's probably the shadow guy, because he was so fascinated with watching us do the session. So he followed me home. And it happens. That's something, as a paranormal investigator, that is something that you have to deal with. The possibility that something is going to come home with you. The other shadow person that was really unique that I saw, Karen Clark, one of our psychics, was in the car with me, and we were driving to an investigation at a cemetery up in the place they call Georgetown, California. And it's in the foothills, almost to the Sierra Nevadas. You're right on the one step you're in Sierra Nevada country. And we're driving down this road, and all of a sudden I see this person walk in front of my car. And as he walked, it was a shadow. And as he walked in front of me, this one had a hat. And as he walked in front of my car, whatever he was in, or whatever he's composed of, the shadow itself, my headlights wouldn't penetrate it. It was really weird. And I looked at Karen, and Karen looked at me. And what's sad is that at that time, I used to film us all the time, out on these investigations, for PR. And that night, I wasn't running a camera out the front window of the car. Usually, I was, normally I would do that. And so he walked straight through, and we didn't get him on film. And we pull over. Being investigators, we're like, "Wow, did you see that?" So we decided to pull the car over, get out of the car, and we start walking around, and we're noticing that this happened between 2 hills. So the only way, if this was a real person, it was impossible that they could have gone up the grade, because it was a steep grade that they would have had to walk, to climb up to the top of the hill. So yeah, that was our shadow person out in the country. Hello, Pamela. How are you? And it wasn't creepy. It was just one of those things. And as investigators, you look at each other and go, "Wow, that just happened." But there was no way, if it was a real person, that there's no way that they could have disappeared or gone up the side because the hill was too steep for them to go up. So there was no place. Essentially, there was no place for them to go. But yeah, crossed in front of the car and disappeared. Boom, just like that. And was it menacing? No, didn't feel it was menacing. I guess whoever it was wanted to be seen, and that's when they crossed in front of my car. But like I said, the thing that I found really interesting, or if you want to use the word astounding, was that when um, the headlights hit this being, not hit him, but you know what I mean. When the headlights came in contact with this being, the light did not penetrate the darkness at all that he was composed of. So I have no idea what this thing was made of or anything like that. So that happened to us, and I had a witness on that one. And then we did a residential here in Sacramento where, as I was doing the session and we were doing our thing, I looked over in the corner and there was about a 6 foot tall shadow man watching us from a corner. Again, just observing. Not anything menacing, not coming towards us, swinging anything or anything like that, but I didn't get a menacing feeling off of him. He was just there, 1 minute, then I looked back and he was gone. What are shadow men? I have no clue. Nobody really knows. Like when I talked with Randy on Monday night, this is an inexact science. We're just it's a learning curve. I'll probably learn all about this, once I have to cross over and all that. That's when I'll learn what's really going on, what the game is with ghosts and shadow people and things. But yeah, so yeah, that was my shadow man. I think I've only seen 3 or 4 shadow men in 18 years of doing this, but I have seen them. Oh yeah, story I have too that reminds me of a shadow man, but it wasn't a shadow man. It was interesting. I have a porch light. It's like a regular lamp thing that my father installed out at the corner of my front yard, and it's always on at night, and it's to light up the walkway and things like that. And I had been doing an investigation with another investigator. I think it was a preliminary that we had gone up to again, the foot of the Sierras. We were up at this place called the Sierra Nevada House, doing a preliminary, and we came back that night. And as we're pulling up to my house, I saw someone standing under the porch. It was shadowy, but you could actually see like facial features. But someone was definitely standing underneath that light. And I remember seeing it, and I looked at the other investigator. She saw it, and she pulled up real slow. And as we got closer to the house, the thing totally disappeared. But it was definitely standing beneath that porch light, that lamppost. You could see it clearly standing there. So that was another semi-shadow person. My growing up, like I said, I saw things, and I remember my bedroom, and I had bunk beds, and it was creepy because I would have a nightlight on because I didn't like the dark to begin with, and so I seem to remember as a kid when I did start seeing things, I did see shadows a lot, shadow people, and I couldn't have been more than 4 or 5, if that. And I remember looking up, and this hand was reaching down from the top bunk, and it was a shadow, like it was going to grab me. But I could clearly see this hand moving. Creepy, and it was a man's hand. It was a big hand. Um, Another time, my bedroom. We used to watch Creature Features every Saturday night. Popcorn, my ho-hos, my ice water, and my sister was carrying me to bed one night, and I look out my window, because as you go into the bedroom, there's a window, and I saw a shadow man pass by my window. Of course, I mentioned it. It's your imagination, but I did see that. The third shadow thing I saw was my sister, child of the 60s, early 70s, had this butterfly that was the psychedelic colors up on the wall across from my bed. And I remember lying in bed and looking over there, and I saw 2 faces come out of this thing. And they were shadows, and they were coming towards me. So I remember that distinctly, too. and seeing that. But then, as I got older, it was weird because then I started to see, well, for seeing stuff like normal colored apparitions, flesh toned and all that. I wasn't seeing shadows anymore. So it was kind of fun. After I became an investigator, I started to see both, where I could see both normal, what I call normal apparitions, and shadow people as well. But that was my childhood. I would see shadow people. That was my really super duper young childhood. Was seeing that, And again, you don't know what these things really are. The truth of the matter is, I mean, there's theories, just like with legitimate orbs. You don't know what they are. Is it somebody that can't remember what they look like, when they were alive, and so they come back in the shape of an orb? Nobody really knows. Nobody has answers. The only people that have answers are the people that are, gone. So, I mean, like I said, it is an exact science, what we do. But we do our best. We do our best to educate with the knowledge that we do know from doing these investigations and from what others have done. We do our best to explain. One day, as soon as I get this put back together in here, I want to show you guys my library. I mean, I have a very, very extensive library of paranormal books on paranormal topics, paranormal locations, things like that I want to show you guys. I want to take you on a tour of my studios, take you on a tour of my ghost hunting stuff. I've got four laptops back here that we do evidence review on, after cases and stuff. So I'm going to take you guys on a tour and show you all that stuff. My big studio over there where we film a lot of stuff. I want to do that with you guys. And again, this library. I have a very extensive library of these haunted locations. In fact, Jerry, for my birthday on my team, gave me a really cool book on Haunted Lake Tahoe when I've been reading that. So I've got all this stuff. Plus, doing this show, which makes things interesting too, is people will send me copies of their books ahead of time before I do the show. So I'm amassing all these books on the paranormal and different topics. Nat Geo books, all kinds of things I get. So it's a fun gig. But it's just I've seen so much during this. That's why I am writing a book about my ghost hunting exploits, because I've seen so much, and it's enough to make me a believer. I'm a journalist. I know how to look at things from both sides and stuff. And honestly, after I was young, after seeing the stuff that I saw when I was a kid, I kind of became a non-believer. Because it's a thing where maybe because it's so weird and strange that your mind doesn't want to wrap around what you're seeing. So you turn around and say, Pshaw, I'm just imagining it, blah, 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 blah. So I was kind of like at that stage at one point until I started hanging out with ghost teams. And I was starting to see stuff again. Because I went through that period where I didn't see anything. And then that made me kind of a non-believer. So this book is written based on that, from a believer to kind of a non-believer, and then back to being a believer and seeing things, the experiences I've had investigating. So I'm halfway through this book. It's been nice. It's like a book in waiting. I start to write it, then I get other things going on, and then I move on to other things, and I come back to it. So yeah, so that's going to be coming out very soon here, hopefully within the year, and I'll have that released, and then you guys can check that out. For a book. A lot of things coming up. A lot of things I'm looking forward to doing. As far as this goes, and I wanted the Creature Features thing last week with the Creature Features show. And it turns out that they're only doing premieres on Saturday. And the problem I'm having is that the chat room that I have, set up so that you guys can join me to watch these movies, won't let me set up the premieres. So what I thought of doing, since this show has been broadcast for so long, is I would go back a couple of years through their files, the shows that they've done, and we would have a Friday night watch party. And what I would do is grab something from like 2 or 3 years ago and just start showing those on the watch party. Hi Pam, how's it going? Good to see you. So I've been thinking about grabbing those, and then we could do a Friday night watch party at 8:30 p.m. Pacific after this show, if that's something you guys are interested in. And so, that way we don't interfere with what they're doing, but we'll be able to see these movies. So it'll be kind of cool. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to try and find one for tomorrow night and see how it goes. But yeah, that's going to be happening. I'm also, going to be doing some different things on the channel. I have, and I've talked about this before, building Yoda. I've got a fishing license for my brother-in-law for Christmas. Awesome. And I'm quite the fisher person. And I love cat fishing, and I'm going to be going out and doing some cat fishing, and it's all night fishing, and I don't know if I'll be able to go live yet because I'm having internet issues, like even when I'm out away from the house. But if anything, I'll film it so you guys can see it, different clips. But if I can go live, then I'm going to go live out there while I'm fishing. You guys can see what it's like to go cat fishing at night. Let me see. I guess what I see. People are talking. People are talking. Okay, cool. Pamela. I got old Pams, nothing but Pams. Pamela Schmidt's here. Pam Nishikawa's here. I got nothing but Pams. Wow, that's pretty cool. Who would have figured? But there's things that that I'm going to be doing that might be a little different from the norm, here. But yeah, we're all one big happy family doing paranormal stuff, and I'm thinking about adding a show on maybe Saturday night, talking about like the haunted gold country, and the different haunted places around the U.S. and interviewing certain investigators about their state, and what activity and whatnot's going on in those states. Um, again, I'm going to be doing some stuff to where it's funding for us, just like these activities I have this weekend that are going on. It never goes into my pocket. It goes back in to California Haunts pocket, to keep everything alive and going. And the show is getting popular to the point that, we're right on the cusp of really, really launching. Thank you to the RSS feed, those guys over at iHeartRadio and those places. But I kind of talked about this earlier this week about sponsorships. And if you have a business, and you feel like you want to sponsor us, I can show you where our coverage is. I have a map with the little dots on there showing where all my coverage is, as far as where the show is being aired and who's downloading what. Hang on a second. Yeah, 2 Pams. Pam Nishikawa. um, so I'm gonna be very transparent with, where we're broadcasting, how many downloads a day we're getting, and things like that. But I do need to do something and start getting funding, whether it's through the Patreon or Meetup or wherever, because like I said, we're on the cusp. This month we're doing really good number-wise. We topped out at 12,000 downloads in December, which was pretty cool, really cool. I knew that wouldn't hold, but we're starting to really, really build momentum, and I do want to keep this thing going. And I think you guys like the show, and I've got a good loyal following between Facebook and YouTube and on all the other places, plus what's going on with the RSS feed. And so I want to capitalize on that and keep things going. But I can't do, as my dad would say, you can't live on love, right? So so I'm just trying to be proactive with different things and try and put some stuff together. I've even thought of doing, because Facebook has the super chat, and I've thought of doing a show just Saturday night on Facebook, and you guys and listeners can utilize that super chat and donate $1, $2 here or there or whatever. But it's like I hate, it's like a broken record. It's like TikTok. You go over to TikTok and that's all they're doing is begging for stuff at TikTok, and I don't like that. I think it's ridiculous. That's why I'm running that. Grinding my teeth. That's why I'm running that ticker along the bottom, that's showing that I'm short $100 this month for my bills, because everything's coming due next week. And I have to come up with $100 by Wednesday. So I'm hoping, somebody in their kind heart will help me out with that. That would be great, to hit those bills. That's my internet, and that's the internet, the RSS feed, and everything else. So, but anyway, that's neither near nor there. Nobody's required to do that, so it's just one of those things. But I want to thank you guys tonight for coming, and I really, really appreciate everybody. Like I always say, everybody that's listening out on Radio Land, like at Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio and all those places. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I really do. I'm excited to have you along for the ride on this, because this show is definitely going places, and I see it every day. With the numbers that come in. I just want to do more and more for it, and I'm trying to figure out different things to entertain you guys and be entertaining for you guys. And I just appreciate, don't think I don't appreciate you guys, because I really do, and I love it. The chat room is active tonight. I love an active chat room. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much, for chatting and stuff to help, distribute us out more, and I just want to keep things going. And I know, the Patreon, the lowest level is $5.50 a month. And there's stuff I want to offer over there for you guys, for the membership, and get things going. And it's just a matter of keeping this thing um, soluble financially, and keep going with it. And I think that's the next step in the evolution we have. I'm not going to charge per view like a lot of people do. It's just I'm not going to do that. That's not my gig. But I do have to, have a consistent thing going, at least to help out with stuff. And anything you can do would be appreciated. But again, I thank each and every one of you, and please, because I did this tonight, please don't leave me. Like I said, nothing's required to fork out any cash or anything. It doesn't matter. But it's just I would like to have something consistent going on. All right, I want to thank you all again tonight for coming, and tomorrow Nancy's going to be with us, and we're going to be talking UFOs. So the question that she's got for you guys is, do you believe in UFOs? Well, do you? Anyway, so that's going to happen tomorrow night. Nancy Matz will be here, same time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, and hope it should be a really good show tomorrow. And hopefully, at some point I can get a new chair so I can sit up higher, down the bottom. But you know what? When you have an old chair, right, and the dang thing's so comfortable, and this is just like so comfortable for me. So this is why I like this chair. You can creak. I can't get it to stop creaking now. It's so old, but it's a comfy chair. It's a comfy chair. And the beginning of the show, and I want to reiterate some of that. Um, I wasn't going off on a tangent. It's just I'm seeing things with this AI technology that people are starting to get wised up to it, and I just want to address that and then get that out there to explain to people, the difference between AI technology, people doing AI work, and a real journalist, and how, we are required to do certain things with photos and stuff that's not required with AI. But like I said, to repeat real quick, Instagram, when I was setting everything up for the show tonight, I got a flag from Instagram, which was nice, saying, "Hey, if your thing's AI, please put some kind of notation on it that it's AI." So it's starting to happen. It's voluntary, but it's starting to happen where they're starting to crack down on the AI stuff, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with AI. It's just that there's just too much of it out, and people will believe whatever they see and read, and so that has to be nipped in the bud. And I've been hoping that this would happen for quite a while since AI started. Okay, enough about that. Enough about money. I just want to bring you guys up to date on stuff. I hope I'm not going anywhere with the show, but you never know. Can't get the bills paid, can't stay. But otherwise, I love you all, and no matter what, I'm not trying to commit social suicide with this, talking about stuff like that. But I'm gonna be looking for sponsors for the show and stuff like that. I just want to give you guys a heads up, because some of you out there might have businesses that maybe you want to advertise. Where you get to see advertising on the show. Feel free to contact me and stuff, and we can talk numbers and whatnot, because we do have some real strong numbers coming in. So anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, and I hope you had a great evening talking about ghosts with me and stuff, as I had a great evening talking to you guys. I really appreciate it, again, each and every one of you, and thank you for coming. Marisa, Pam Nishikawa, and Pamela Schmidt for coming into the chat room. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And even you guys that are kind of out there in limbo land listening in. It's all good. It's all good. All right? See you tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Have a great rest of your evening.